Human rights lawyer Dele Farotimi was arraigned in a federal high court in Ekiti State today. As you can see, they cuffed him, they put him in handcuffs to humiliate him. Compare that to when Bello was arraigned at the federal high court in Abuja. It was as if he was leading the EFCC officials to court, sort of like he took them to court. This is a man that was accused by EFCC of stealing or misappropriating more than 100 billion naira. They treat him this way like a king they escorted to court. Look at how they are treating a human rights lawyer who committed no other crime other than saying that the Nigerian criminal justice system is corrupt, that it is rotten to the core. And all they've been doing to him proves that all he has been saying, all he has been hammering over the years is true. They have proved his book right. Imagine abducting someone from Lagos all the way to Ekiti State. They charge him to court for an offense that is not a crime. It's only a misdemeanor. But they added criminal to it just to make sure the magistrate court remands him to prison. From there, they have charged him to a federal high court for cyber crimes offenses. Now they are parading him in front of everyone as if he's a criminal. Imagine handcuffing someone who just criticized the government. And they are letting criminals get away with billions of naira. That tells you all you need to know about Nigeria's criminal justice system. Anyway, the federal high court in Ekiti State granted him bail in the sum of 50 million naira and a surety in the like sum. They adjourned the matter till January 29th, 2025. What they are doing to Dele Farotimi is just a power show. I can do it to you. I'm more connected than you. You can't do anything to me. I can bring you from Lagos to Ekiti State and charge you to court and put you in prison. And I will bring you to another court. You can't do anything. I can push you anyhow I want. That's exactly what is going on. They are just humiliating him for having the guts to criticize them, to say it as it is. And because of how popular his book has become, he has pushed a lot of people to start researching on the characters mentioned in the book. Of course, we'll do that in a separate video. Let's not derail this one. Now, Professor Odinkalu, while speaking in an X-Space hosted by Mindset, revealed that the whole situation, everything that Dele Farotimi is going through, is reminiscent of what he went through in the hands of Rufai. Let's take a listen.
This is a very triggering question, and I'll get to why it's triggering shortly. But actually, I wanted to write about that before all of this stuff ensued. But in order to move anybody, let me give you an illustration rather than trying to be technical about this. Okay? Now, let's say I have not visited Kano in the last 9 months, and somebody institutes a charge against me in a court in Kano, charging me for violation of hudud crimes in Kano, over which the court in Kano does not have jurisdiction over me, but procures a warrant from a court, from the Hisba authorities in Kano, to procure me from anywhere in Nigeria. And then I am picked up in Itumbuzo, which is a village somewhere in the southeast. And, from March to Kano, before this Hisba court. This is a summary of the argument you say people are putting up. If this were to happen, the same people who say exactly what you have said now will want to declare a religious war on Nigeria. Yes? Now, the underlying basis for criminal process is that you have to be dealing with a crime. Jurisdictional basis has to exist both as a matter of subject matter and as a matter of personal jurisdiction. In this particular case, neither exists. And let me tell you why this is triggering. This nearly happened to me in Kaduna State in 2019-2020. And my lawyer in that particular case is here. She can tell you the story. Her name is Gloria Palason. If you want to bring up Gloria, she can tell you the story of what nearly happened to me. I was lucky. Nasir El-Rufai wanted me shut up and decided to procure a magistrate in Kaduna to issue a warrant for my abduction on an allegation of a crime of incitement against her. And he went before the magistrate, and they had pretty much cooked this thing up. It was an innocent police officer who didn't know me, who saw this being cooked up, that went out of his way to get my contact details and say, look, young man, I don't know who you are, but this is what is happening, and they are going to pick you up next week, wherever you are. If you're in Nigeria, you've got to do something about this. They had filed charges without notifying me, accusing me of incitement against El Rufai, and they had claimed that I had not shown up for the proceedings that I did not know about, and they were going to procure a warrant for my abduction. I barely escaped because there was a good man somewhere who thought that should not happen, and so we then filed papers in that court to interdict the process and challenge the jurisdiction of the court. That is what bought me my freedom and kept my sorry ass out of jail. Now, I was lucky. Audu Mekori wasn't. Audu was abducted from Lagos. Stephen Kepas was abducted from Port Harcourt. Lots of other Nigerians have been abducted in this kind of way, in mechanisms of abuse of power. And that is why this thing needs to be dealt with. And that is why every one of us has got to speak up about this. Because it could be you tomorrow. And it's important that we understand this. This gets pretty personal for anyone who is an active citizen or aspires to live in a country in which citizens matter and citizenship matters. This is personal. It is Dele today. It could be any one of us tomorrow, including you. This is like asking somebody, should I apply for a job? I don't know whether they will employ me. Well, you cannot be employed unless you apply for the job, right? So it's the same thing. If you don't protest, you will not know whether or not it makes a difference. But if you don't protest at all, you guarantee that it will not make a difference. Again, I want to be a little careful. I'm an alum of the London School of Economics, which is just a shouting distance from my old Kingsway Road. King's College is on the Strand, which is like 30-45 seconds really from LSE. And there's a bit of previous between both institutions. LSE itself has suffered some exposure previously from donations from sources that were dodgy. The fact of the matter is that two things. UK institutions of higher learning are strapped for cash at the moment, so cash does matter to them. But on the other hand, they also do have reputational exposures that require that they be careful from whom they take money, and that those from whom they take money espouse values that are supportive of the values of the institutions generally, but also of academic freedom in particular. And if you're talking about the facts of this case, every university who's connected with the protagonists has got to be very careful. The one thing a protest can do, a picket of King's College, is to bring exposure to this and to prolong the exposure. And by prolonging the exposure to this, you make it a lot more likely that King's College trustees are going to, at some point, begin to ask questions about this. And once they begin to do that, all bets are off as to what could happen. So yes, a protest at King's College is extraordinarily important. London and the Strand is not Ekiti State, and is not within the bounds of Ekiti State. And what could happen there could be quite far-reaching. Amplification is the issue here. Dele doesn't need our money. Let's be clear. But of course, in Nigeria, everybody thinks everybody's out to be a huckster. Dele doesn't need our money, but the amplification is important. And let me repeat myself about solidarity. That's practical solidarity. So driving the book up the Amazon bestseller list is about solidarity. And that's the point. As that begins to happen, and people then start asking questions and making the connections, consequences cascade out as a result. It's as simple as that in the 21st century. You see, the people who are orchestrating this are stuck in a particularly analog mindset, and they don't understand the network capabilities of the 21st century and how far the visceral network capabilities of the 21st century can cascade out with nobody, no central orchestrator. And that's really why this is important. Buying the book is important, amplification is important, showing up at King's College is important. Basically, keeping this outside the loop of analog control freakery is what this is about, really. I'm trying to excise the personalities out people out of this. I think it's important that we do so, because otherwise we personalize the whole thing too. I mean, SANs are citizens. 95-year-olds are citizens. 50-something-year-olds are citizens. All of us are citizens in this. And the question is, how do you apply law to citizens equally? I did my youth service in Ibadan. I know all the people in this particular case in person. Everybody involved in this case, other than the magistrate in Ekiti, I know in person. So I don't want to go and start discussing them. I would rather discuss the issues of principle involved in the matter. And the issues of principle are huge, and their implications are serious, irrespective of our personal relationships with the people involved. And that's really what bothers me. This is about the viability of our civic capabilities, of our place as citizens of Nigeria. Now, you see, if we live in a country in which you can find what I do disagreeable, or you don't like what I do, and the response to that is to come and collect me like a piece of chicken from my house and bring me to your poultry farm, where you can then decide whether to serve me up for Christmas or for breakfast or for dinner on your terms. That is not a country. I don't know, I don't want to use any other word to describe it, but that is not a country. And we need to understand the implications of this, of what they are trying to do with a fellow citizen of our country. It's immaterial whether you agree with Dele or not. Nobody, no citizen should be treated like this at all, under any circumstance. The degree of egregiousness, of impunity in this is so dreadful in its implications. We should not allow it to happen as citizens of a free country, because if we do, all of us are finished.